advantage of.
So what is the name of our law firm?
Feldman, Hirschenfeld, and Feldman. I mean, Hirschenfeld, Feldman, and Hirschenfeld. That's the Feldman should be in the middle.
Sandwich.
All right. Welcome. It's time now for the Hirschenfelds. And Dr. Philip Hirschenfeld is a Freudian psychoanalyst. He's the real deal. We joke around on this show, but you are a real psychiatrist. You're not somebody who listens for 5 seconds, whips out the pad and pencil or pen and gives a prescription. You do the talking here.
I do the talking.
You do and you listen.
I do listen.
Right.
And it's the most fascinating job in the world for me, not for somebody else.
Right. I'm a peeping Tom. I like listening in on. And also joining us is Dr. Samuel Benjamin's alter ego, Ethan Hirschenfeld, author of Today Is Now. Go buy this book right now. I don't ask my listeners for much. Go right now and purchase this. Thank you for recording, Dan. Somebody hit the record button. Thank you for that. I should hang on for 1 second. It's not easy. Hang on. Okay. Let me hang on for 1 second. All right. We're recording. Good.
All right.
Okay. Go buy Today Is Now.
Yeah.
It's a hysterical book. It has the Feldman guarantee.
And you don't have to buy it today. You can buy it tomorrow.
Buy it now.
Oh, buy it now. Yeah.
Today Is Now. Buy it now on Amazon.
And as you were saying that Dr. Philip Hirschenfeld is the real deal. Dr. Samuel Benjamin is whatever the opposite is of the real deal. He's,
Right.
But he means well, and there's a lot of wisdom in those pages.
He absolutely means well. I can attest to that.
So, is traveling to see family for Christmas worth it? Right now, the National Weather Service says we're about to experience a once-in-a-generation blizzard in the Northeast. They're calling it the snowpocalypse, right? 9,000 flights have been canceled, delayed in the Midwest alone. Every single state in the United States is affected by this. Temperatures are plummeting. We have 50-mile-per-hour winds, whiteout conditions. Traveling to see relatives right now is not the smartest idea in the world. You're going to end up waiting at the airport. You'll spend days on the tarmac if you're lucky enough to board the plane. People are traveling by car, by bus, by train. Everybody wants to see their families, even if it literally kills them. Is it worth it? I see.
Let me go first. Go first. Yes. It's worth it because, let's be honest, your life's not going that great anyway. So if you die on the way home to Akron or whatever shitty place you live in, you tried it in the big city. It was going okay. It wasn't going great. Let's be honest. It was going well enough that when you went home, you could kind of impress the locals, but it wasn't going great. So, it's worth trying to get home to do a little bragging and impress the locals and make your parents proud, but in person. It's worth it, even if you die, and you probably will. It's worth it.
And if you make it there safely, you get COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or you bring COVID to your elderly relatives. Bring big city COVID to small town family. They have the COVID in those small towns is lazy COVID. It's slow talking COVID. It sits on the back porch and whittles. But big city COVID is the real deal.
We don't know anything about your fancy hacking and Flemish coffin.
Yeah, and also apologies to Akron and LeBron James. Now, Dr. Hirschenfeld, please.
Cui bono.
That was Sonny Bono's first wife before Cher, who did not benefit too well from that marriage, I might add. Who benefits?
Who benefits? That's the main question when a crime is committed. that the detective asks. Who benefited from this crime?
Right.
So I would say David Feldman is sort of committing a crime by trying to convince everybody that it's beyond dangerous to go home. And therefore, I would ask, in what way are you benefiting, David, from scaring the shit out of all these poor people?
Because I am a foot soldier in the war on Christmas, and we're losing. Every year
Yeah.
I wage war on the holidays.
Okay.
Hanukkah, Christmas, anything, any celebration, I'm against it.
Okay.
You know, it's really not fair that Christmas now gets the CH. Hanukkah used to have the CH. And then we got demoted to the H. Why did we get stuck with the H? The Hanukkah thing was just fine. In the 60s, it was Hanukkah. 70s, it was Hanukkah. 80s, it was always Hanukkah. The CH, talk about a war. That was anti-Semitic. They took the C away. They kept it for themselves.
They
It's
don't
horrific.
call it Christmas.
They don't. No.
So they took the C and they don't even use it.
No, they took the C and they don't use it. Yeah, it's just like a Gentile. Take from us and then don't use it. Anyway, no, but and Kwanzaa, back happy Kwanzaa to everyone.
Yeah. So I should mention, if you're going to be in New York City, Christmas Eve, which would be Saturday night,
Yes.
go to the comic strip in New York City to see the funniest man on the planet, Ethan Hirschenfeld,
Wow.
or Mary Stickmis.
Mary Stickmis, 7 and 9:30 p.m. shows. There's a 7 p.m. show and a 9:30 p.m. show. Tickets on Eventbrite, promo code Ethan for a very big discount.
I promise you, you will laugh. You will laugh. If you're spending Christmas alone, which I think you should, but that's a whole other thing. But I'll get to that in a second. Go to the comic strip in New York City, Christmas Eve, Chinese food, right?
Chinese food, Jewish jokes. What more could you ask for? And you get to spend a couple hours in one of the remaining historic temples of comedy in New York City. Caroline's is gone. Dangerfield's is gone. The comic strip lives on.
Yeah.
So come to the comic strip Saturday night, Christmas Eve. Mary Stickmis.
Support live comedy, even if it kills you. That's
yes. You will laugh and you will die.
Yes. So Dr. Hirschenfeld.
What? You pestering me again? You're a real nudge. Okay.
The fifth vaccine. Most Americans are not getting the fifth vaccine. You got it.
Just between, there's nobody listening to this show.
He also got the sixth.
I'm about to get the sixth.
What is the sixth one?
I'm just doing the fifth one over again, because I have heard from certain sources that if you're of a certain age, this has really become an epidemic of people over 65. That's who's being hospitalized, and that's who's dying. And believe it or not, I fall into that age category. So I've heard a number of, smart people who say that if you're older and if you've had this fifth vaccine for 3 or 4 months, the protection is really waning fast, probably. So
Go back for seconds. Go back for seconds on the fifth.
Go back for seconds. Yes, I am.
And is it the same cocktail, or do they tweak
it? Same thing, right. And probably my arm will hurt a little more than last time. But I'm a big boy. I'm not going to cry about that.
And if you do cry, there's nothing wrong with crying. Just remember that. Crying is fine. Crying is totally fine. There's no points for bravery. Don't be a hero.
I've been living the other way my entire life.
Many of us have.
Oh, okay.
Temple Grandin. I want to ask you about Temple Grandin.
Did you say Temple Emmanuel?
I used to belong to Temple Emmanuel, but then I joined Temple Grandin.
Okay.
because,
Good work.
she is good at leading lamb to the slaughter. That's her claim to fame, Temple Grandin. Isn't
Yeah.
that correct? That she is an animal behaviorist.
Found a way to hug animals so they are less anxious when they're about to get it in the neck.
And why is that heroic? Why do we celebrate her for the trickery, the deception? She pretends to be a cow's best friend, but it's the kiss of death. It's what Michael Corleone gave to Fredo in Cuba. Why
I think that this is definitely playing devil's advocate because I don't agree with this. I don't think we should be killing animals at all. But I think one could argue that they're going to be killed anyway. Therefore, let's do it in a way that doesn't also panic them. So the murder is one thing, but you don't have to make them anxious and murder them. So I think that's probably the rationalization. But I don't go in for any of those rationalizations whenever anyone says, yeah, but what about free range chickens? To me, that's just like, okay, they can take a nice stroll and then you kill them. That's not much better. It shouldn't, yeah. Oh, the killing is the problem. Everything else pales in, all the other stuff pales in comparison.
I bring up Temple Grandin because it is the holiday season and millions of Americans are like lambs to the slaughter. They're marching in these lines at the airport. And I wonder if Temple Grandin also works for the airlines, because I'm amazed at the complacency of airline travelers. We always hear about these people on a plane who act up. I'm amazed that everybody doesn't act up on a plane and freak out. Do you think there is you're a psychiatrist, doctor?
Yes, I am.
No, I'm talking to the real psychiatrist. Do you think somebody like Temple Grandin has helped design the airports to turn us into sheep who don't panic, who just take whatever is foisted upon the one indignity after another, and yet nobody snaps? Why is that?
So here's what I would say. I'm beginning to suspect you've got an airline phobia, flying phobia, for one thing, because you're, so hot to trot against this. I also think maybe you shorted all your stocks in the airline industry
Okay.
before Christmas, and you're hoping that they all go down and you're going to make a bundle despite your so-called socialist tendencies.
I have
Go ahead.
a different explanation. I'm sorry, David, go ahead and then
You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was, I think the reason people are so calm in spite of all the indignities in general in the airports, it's a testimony to just how uncomfortable people are where they are. People are willing to go through anything to get somewhere else. That's the epidemic. It's an epidemic of discomfort and dissatisfaction. And so
hope. It is, airports offer hope. And if people have hope, they're calm. An airport, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's a trip awaiting you. Just wait patiently. Is that why people don't freak out and get violent at the airport?
Listen, it's safer than driving. It's a very safe form of transportation. A number of years ago, if I get this right, I got it sort of right. I'm not absolutely certain of this, but they made people buy seats for their little children on taking, I think in the Midwest, taking, 2, 3, 400-mile plane rides. So many people couldn't afford it. So they drove. Now, this was done supposedly to enhance safety of the little children. Many people drove instead, and the death rate of these people was way up from if they had flown, because plane crashes are pretty damn rare.
Right. I think we're talking about all of the
indignities.
the indignities and then all the contagion in the airports.
Right.
So those
not the ultimate indignity of death, all the indignities leading up to death.
Yeah.
What about the people who actually enjoy seeing their families?
Does anybody really want to see their family? Seriously, what percentage, both of you, the real doctor and the fake doctor, ballpark this? How many people really want to see their family? What percentage of Americans are depressed because they're alone? And what percentage are depressed because they're not alone and they have to go spend the holidays with people they don't want to spend it with? What do you think the percentage is?
I think it's 27% who don't want to see their family. And this is related. I just heard the number. 27% was there's a podcast series about estrangement within families that just came out. And I heard the statistic today. It was on WNYC. The statistic was that of those people polled, 27% report some estrangement that they've experienced, which means they didn't then take the next logical step, which is if 27% of people have some member of their family from whom they are estranged, that means 100% of families have some estrangement in them.
Yes.
It's more than 1 out of 4. So every family has this going on in one of the many configurations in the family. And so, yeah, I guess it's probably 1 out of 4 people who would prefer not to go visit family.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they might, in a general sense, prefer not to, but then why do so many of them do it anyway?
The free food.
Okay.
Yeah, and laundry. Also laundry. A lot of people in the big cities, they don't have a laundry unit in their apartment. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
They may be telling themselves it's for the free food and laundry. Just because they can't acknowledge that along with the antipathy,
yeah,
there is connection.
There's connection, yeah.
David, I've tried to tell you this before. This somehow doesn't penetrate. All human relationships are ambivalent. Love and hate. Now, the mixture of one or the other is, different in each relationship. But that's just how it is.
I love how you say that as though you came up with that and your school came up with what is really just an obvious fact about humans. Of course, everything's ambivalent.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there's one other big reason that people do go home for the holidays, apart from the free meals and the laundry. A lot of people have a crush on their neighbor, their childhood neighbor. There's a lot of that over the fence, across the street, over on the corner. There's a crush. There's some unrequited, unresolved thing from their teenage years or even earlier. So they might not even know it, but they're going home hoping that they might finally get to screw their neighbor.
What a beautiful sentiment. I'm surprised that the Hallmark Channel hasn't made a movie based on that theory. That's so beautiful.
Did you guys, you youngsters, ever hear of the book A Stone for Danny Fisher?
No. I've heard of A Fish for Danny Stone.
No, that's somebody else.
Okay.
This is one of the early sexy, like Harold Robbins type thing. Maybe even Harold Robbins wrote it. I have no idea who wrote it.
And Jerome Robbins choreographed it.
So Danny Fisher was this Jewish kid growing up in some suburban Long Island town, the stone refers to the stone that somebody put on his tombstone after he was killed, because I think he became a hoodlum eventually. But for the pubescent boys who were reading this book in the 1950s, the key scene was his house was very close to the neighbor's house.
Oh boy.
And the neighbor girl was very cute. And they would, in their separate bedrooms on the second story, start getting undressed in front of each other.
My God.
That became a real thing.
Wow.
I just looked it up. 1952, Harold Robbins, A Stone for Danny Fisher.
Oh, Harold Robbins wrote it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I'm working on a joke. I have half a joke, something about I'm going to go to my mother. You have to leave a stone at my mother's grave. Suppose it's a kidney stone. Suppose I piss on the grave and pass a kidney stone, Rabbi. Does that count? Something along those. Can you try that at Mary Stickness for me to see if that works?
I'll try that out, but if it doesn't go well, it's yours. If it goes well, it's mine.
Why do we leave a stone at a grave? You're leaving a stone on a stone.
You want to know the psychoanalytic reason?
Yes, please.
It's the testes.
No. You've got such a dirty mind. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I know the origin of it. Okay, let's hear the psychoanalytic, and then I'll explain what it really is.
This ancient man was very afraid that people were going to come back, so they piled stones on top of the grave.
Oh,
my read is different. Ancient man was very afraid that they were going to lose their spot in line. So if you went to the funeral and you had to then go somewhere else, you put a stone to say, there was no cutsies and no savesies, but you were allowed to put the stone.
Okay, there's an alternative.
The days are getting longer.
Yes.
We're coming into spring, right? The solstice. It means the days are, but was it you who calculated sunrise and sunset, Dr. Hirschenfeld, and figured out?
I'm the first person who discovered that sunrise and sunset take place every day at a specific time. Now, thank you for acknowledging that.
But you also checked the Farmer's Almanac or something?
Oh, no, that was me. I was telling you about that. I think I was telling you about that.
So we're told theoretically that after December 21st, the days last longer.
True, but here's what I was surprised to learn, because I checked the sunset times up here. Starting 3 days ago, sunset was already getting later. So sunset is already before the solstice starts getting later, but sunrise, it continues to get later for those days. So the point is that sunlight gets shortened. But I was just surprised to see that the sunrise is actually around December 18th. That's the earliest that's the earliest sunset.
Nighttime comes earlier?
Yes. Yeah.
But is that because we've been messing with time?
It's because we've been exploding atom bombs.
I thought that might have been it.
That's the reason. Yes.
So
that's another, by the way, another nice thing about not flying. I haven't flown overseas since the pandemic. No jet lag.
Yes.
That's a relief. I like not having jet lag. I still have a little bit of.
I don't need to fly to have jet lag. I have been logy for the past, since COVID.
Yeah.
I have just been seamless. I don't feel going outside.
I'm a little tired since I was born. I think of it as womb lag.
You- So what are your plans for Hanukkah and Christmas, Kwanzaa? What are your big plans, Dr. Hirschenfeld?
Why are you picking on me all the time?
I want to know because you're not going to go see your son. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty.
I'm considering it. I haven't quite, the only reason I love seeing him perform. In the olden days, when he first started, I would be so anxious when he performed. Is he going to remember? Is he going to fumble a line? I was really in a panic. And then after a couple of years, I finally figured out he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. I can relax. So since then, I've just been relaxed.
I felt that I had a very similar trajectory in thinking about you at your job.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's true. Early on, it's a little frightening, my job.
But you have the advantage of you don't have to talk. Like if you don't know your lines, you just, sorry, go ahead.
How do you take, I've always been able to take my kids to work with me.
Yeah.
How do you take, if you're a psychiatrist, how do you take your children to work with you and to show them what you do?
Yeah.
We were deprived of that. Yeah. But I think.
Did I ever take you to the hospital when I was running inpatient wards?
No, but you once and you left me there. I'll be back. No. You took us once to when you were in medical school. I remember seeing the skeleton. You did take us to see the anatomy classroom, not the cadaver.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Was that traumatic to see a skeleton?
No, it was cool. I like that. Yeah.
Could you have handled a cadaver?
No. Yeah. I didn't even like steak. When you could see, I was like a latent vegetarian for all those years because
right.
I would just have to look away. Sometimes you could identify a vein or a tendon or a nerve. It's so gross. Right. I mean, steak is it is so gross. Anyway.
Dr. Hirschenfeld, do you remember your first cadaver?
Yes, we named her. We had 6 people working around her.
Six. He said 6. For the record, he said we had 6.
No, 6 standing around. My clearest memory from those days, it was November 1963. We had a Latvian professor of gross anatomy who lived and died. This was his only interest in the world, anatomy. So we were all standing around the cadaver, and he was tracing the vagus nerve, how it starts in the brainstem, goes back through the thorax, innervates the various organs in the abdomen. We're all peering. All of a sudden, and he would always go like this with his glasses because he didn't want to get them dirty, so he would adjust them like this. Okay. All of a sudden, the door bangs in. It's November 22nd, 1963, and somebody yells, "The president has been shot." Everybody freezes. He stops for about 2 seconds. He adjusts his glasses, and then he says, and then if you'll notice,
Wow.
So what you're saying is he knew that the assassination was going to happen.
He was from Latvia, so could have been.
Yeah. And he pointed to the vagus nerve. He immediately, when the bullet entered, hit the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve, I would think, where I come
Has an
from.
has an all night buffet.
I was thinking going back for sixths at the all you can eat, but the vagus nerve,
Yes.
VEGAS.
VAGUS, which comes from the Latin. It travels all over the place like a vagabond.
Or a
It
vagrant,
goes, yeah. What's that?
a vagrant.
Vagrant,
A
same
vagrant,
word.
right. Yeah. So yeah. So it goes
Wanders
many
through
places.
that.
Yeah.
Or vagary, or could you be more vague?
And my younger colleague here, who goes swimming all the time in impossibly cold water. One of the theories of cold water swimming is that it's very relaxing because of its effect on the vagus nerve. I don't know if this is the truth or not, but that's
Yeah, that's what they say. Vagus nerve stimulation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we should be familiar with our vagus nerve. It runs the entire body.
It peters out around your Peter.
Lately a lot of things have been petering out around my Peter. The vagus nerve. All
Yeah.
right. What are
Yeah.
you reading? What are you reading?
The flight of the vagus nerve. I'm reading a terrific book. Maybe I mentioned this before. This is the second time I'm reading it. It's called Austerlitz by Sebald, Sebald, a German writer. It is just one of the great books,
Okay.
truly.
And are you going to be traveling at all in the next 2 weeks? No.
No, I'm listening to you. You said stay home.
I'm trying to, my war on the
I
holidays.
follow all of your advice.
Is it fair to say there might be a time in American history where maybe we shouldn't be celebrating? Maybe the snowpocalypse is Jesus's way of saying, enough with the travel already, the climate change. The snowpocalypse is a message from the climate saying, enough with the fossil fuels already. Stop with the celebrating and fix me.
This is my very pessimistic view of human life, but I think it's going to take some major, major tragedies, the death of millions of people, for people to wake up and say, oh yeah, maybe we've got to do something about this problem. As New York City washes away, or something similar, or much more likely, Bangladesh completely washes away with how many millions of people? I have no idea, but many millions of people.
Right. Before we say goodnight, I'm looking at the chat room on YouTube. If you have a question for Dr. Samuel Benjamin, if you think there's a way he could help you get through the holiday season, put it in the chat room right now. And I'll ask Ethan.
Yes.
What are you reading while we're waiting for a question from the YouTube chat room?
I've had my nose in the news. I really have. It's bad, but I have not been reading.
A lot of people haven't been reading.
I did watch a great Netflix, Hulu, a series on Hulu, which I recommend highly. It's called Normal People. Came out right at the beginning of the pandemic. Somehow I missed it, but I just watched the whole thing, or the first season. It's an Irish story. It's a romance. It takes place over a number of years. It's great. The acting and the writing, just fantastic. Normal People on Hulu. That's my tip of the week.
Okay. Go to Mary Stickmis.
Mary Stickmis.
In New York City. If you're going to be in New York City, go to Eventbrite, type in Mary Stickmis, promo code Ethan. Go see this man perform. There is nobody funnier.
Thank you.
We have a question for the Hirschenfelds, which we'll get to in a second. We'll close with the question, but please go buy Today Is Now by Dr. Samuel Benjamin. You buy it. Where can you buy it? I can't say.
Buy it at your own risk. I mean, buy it. It's guaranteed to change your life on Amazon. Dr. Samuel Benjamin. Before your question, I just want to make.
You're allowed to shop on.
You're allowed to shop on Amazon for Christmas, only to purchase this book. Today is now.
Today is now. Amazon.com. Jeff Bezos. One other point I wanted to make before we ask the question is just that, with the rise of anti-Semitism.
Yes.
I just want to quickly say that I understand why people are annoyed with us. I was talking about how that C was stolen from Hanukkah, and it's now just Hanukkah, but it's still not clear how to spell it. You can have two Ks, you can have an H on the end with or without the C. There's more ways to spell Hanukkah than Knights of Hanukkah. And that's a problem. I can see why that would get some people annoyed with the Jewish people. So
yeah. And the H at the end is.
Yeah. It's superfluous.
It is superfluous.
Yeah.
Let's get a movement going to get rid of the H.
Yeah, we have to standardize it. I think that might solve the whole anti-Semitism thing. If we could just agree on one spelling.
Or maybe we could trade. Earlier, you were saying that the Gentiles stole the C from Hanukkah. Yeah. Maybe we can give them the H. They give us back the C. They can call it.
So they'll be Christmas. Christmas. Okay, good. All right.
I think that would be better for aging people with bad dentures. They won't sound freakish when they pronounce it as Christmas. That's
people with a lateral lisp will love it. I think the guy to negotiate this deal is Jared Kushner. I'm going to call him.
Okay. Here we've got three questions. Question number one from S. Kowalchuk. I had a death in the family this year, and my mother is declining with Alzheimer's disease. My question is, what question should I ask you? Okay, that's funny.
What is the meaning of life? That's what he should ask us.
And what is the meaning of life?
I don't know.
I know.
Oh, good.
The meaning of life is just to be kind to other creatures. That's it.
Okay.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else to do.
I say the meaning of life is death. That since we're all going to die, you might as well treat people like crap. Because
I just read The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Tolstoy. And it's a great book. And that's the message from Tolstoy.
Which is what?
Of life is to be kind.
There you go. Tolstoy. I feel like I'm in good company.
And
all right, what's the next question? Let's bang this out.
Well, was Jesus a Republican? I don't know. He was Jewish. Not too many Jews are Republicans.
Right.
I'll tell you, he was not a Republican because Republicans don't wear sandals. There's no open-toed shoes in the Republican Party.
Right. And I can't read that. But what challenges do you see that need to be addressed in the field of psychology? These are questions for Dr. Hirschenfeld, not me. You can ask me questions later.
Okay, you want a serious answer to that?
Yeah, and then we'll wrap it up.
The biggest challenge is that the psychiatry, insurance agent, government cabal has decided that the cheapest way to make people better is by giving them pills. And it helps a little, but it ain't the whole story.
Right. You can't talk to a pill.
There you go.
We'll end on that. Thank you, Dr. Hirschenfeld. And
thank you, David Feldman. Okay.
And fake Dr. Hirschenfeld. Thank you. Go buy. I'm telling you, if you want to laugh, go buy Dr. Samuel Benjamin's book, Today is Now.
Today is now.
And it gets the Feldman guarantee. If this book doesn't make you laugh out loud, let me know. I'll reimburse you and bring this to Mary Stickmis, and Ethan will autograph it and probably buy you a cup of coffee. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you.
Deal. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Merry War on Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you all to our live studio audience in the Zoom room. We kind of called this at the last minute. We're easing back into the live shows. And thank you to those of you watching right now on YouTube. This was last minute, so thank you. If you're enjoying this segment of the David Feldman Show, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong